Hello everybody, and welcome to the Thursday edition of Video Clips. Just a couple reminders if you're interested in careers, if you want to take our vaccine mini course, if you'd like to have a free trial of our online yoga program or our fitness program, send me an email at pampopper@msn.com. So today I want to talk about the modeling systems that have incorrectly predicted the coronavirus COVID-19 debacle. I looked into this myself. It started with reading an article written by Berenson, who's a former New York Times reporter who used to cover the pharmaceutical industry, so he has a fair amount of knowledge about health. He says that flawed models were used to justify the draconian measures taken to literally shut down the world, causing what he says is enormous social devastation. His recent writings very much are the same as mine, that the collateral damage is absolutely amazing and nobody seems to want to deal with that issue. And by the way, one thing that I'll point out about this, and then I'll get back to Berenson and his data, is that whenever you get ready to do anything, there are risks and benefits associated. I mean, if you have hypertension and you're going to take a drug, there are risks associated with taking the drug, risks associated with not taking the drug, depending on your level of hypertension. And the way you make an intelligent decision is look at risks and benefits. And one of the things that I've said and that Berenson's been talking about, and a lot of other people, John Ioannidis talked about this too, is that the risks that we are taking with millions and millions of people in their lives and their mental health and their physical health, significantly, is it really worth it? And I think that's a question that we need to ask. And when I tell you about the models, everybody says, well, if we even save one life, well, if you hurt 25 people to save a life, I'm not sure that you can make that value judgment for the 25 people. And the second thing is you're assuming, again, that the numbers that you're hearing are correct, and I've been telling you for a long time they're not. So anyway, Berenson says in February he was worried about the virus, but by March he became concerned about the economy, and now he's really concerned about what's going on. He says many of the hospitals are empty and wonders why we're still talking about indefinite lockdowns. And by the way, the indefinite nature of it is one of the things that I think is difficult. I mean, I feel myself getting agitated when Fauci says, I don't even know if kids can go back to school in the fall. I mean, how long do you shut down the world for a virus that has like 2.5% of the impact on the population that seasonal flu does? I mean, the numbers don't make any sense, but I mean, what are we going to do? Have an entire generation of uneducated children over this whole thing? It's just insane. All right, so Berenson, first of all, he very much starts his discussions about this the same way that I do. He doesn't deny that in some places like New York City, the hospitals are overburdened. He doesn't deny that the virus is contagious and spreads fast. He recognizes it can be fatal. The issue now is how many people are actually affected, how many will die, and whether or not the response is appropriate. That's what I keep coming back to. Is the response that we're taking to this, is it appropriate based on data? Well, here's what's happened with the two models that the experts like Fauci and Birx relied on. One of them came from the Imperial College of London, and one of the authors has changed the projections. The model originally predicted that the United Kingdom would experience 500,000 deaths from coronavirus. The revised estimate is 20,000 deaths. That's a 96% reduction. Now, being off by 96%, this is not a minor thing, particularly when the result of these kinds of things has been that the entire world is locked down and tens of millions of people all over the world are unemployed, not having surgical procedures that are necessary, and so on. We'll get to more of that tomorrow. The University of Washington's Institute for Health Metrics and Evaluation model has been revised many times. It predicted 90,000 deaths by August. Now it's saying 60,000. I don't even know how that's going to happen because in the summertime, you don't usually see flu epidemics at the 4th of July. Dr. Deborah Birx and Dr. Anthony Fauci say the reasons that the numbers are so much better is because of the mitigation strategies or lockdowns, but the current measures being used, including social distancing, are already baked into those estimates, by the way. He offers as proof that outside of places like New York, there's been no crisis. I mean, I talked to you about that on Tuesday. We just have not had a crisis here. That's why the hospitals are sitting empty and people are not getting procedures. So there's no evidence, by the way, that the lockdown is working either. So think about it this way. In Florida, the lockdown system was late. In California, it was early. In Oklahoma, there's been no lockdown at all, and there does not seem to be any relationship between lockdowns and whether or not the virus spreads. In fact, the drop in cases started before lockdowns could have had an impact, because remember, it takes a few weeks for social distancing and other strategies to work, because you have this lag time between the time of infection and the time of symptoms. So it's not entirely clear. In fact, it is abundantly clear, I should probably say, that the lockdowns haven't had an effect. Now, Berenson, like me, is not suggesting that we never should have done anything, but rather that what we should have done should have been measured and targeted. But once the first governor acted in a knee-jerk fashion without any data or reasoning, the others followed quickly, and nobody wants to admit that they overreacted now. He says, and I agree, that we're in a bad spot mainly because of politics, not facts. The people who made these decisions, were they to admit that they were wrong, would have a lot of people angry at them. I know I'm angry, and I'm angry, again, not for personal reasons. I'm fine. This place is fine. We're going to be fine. I have no family members who've been adversely affected by this at all. But, you know, every day our governor and his sidekick, Dr. Amy Acton, tell Ohioans we're all in this together. Really? These two still have their six-figure salaries, and they're at work every day. I don't think the unemployed Ohioans who can't pay their rent this month feel a lot of togetherness with this pair. Here in Ohio, just to tell you, the natives are getting restless. There was a protest staged last week, close to 100 people standing right next to each other, protested on the State House lawn during the governor's daily briefing. We watch it every day. You could hear them on the news feed coming through the computer. Nobody was arrested. Nobody told the people they had to practice social distancing. I mean, what really could the state do? This isn't China. Well, they've emptied out the jails here. So the first thing is they're not going to take them to jail. The courts are shut down. So there really isn't anything that you can do with these people. You can't shoot them. It's not China. We don't have any labor camps set up here yet. Maybe that's coming next for people who don't obey orders. But it just happened, and then they went on about their business. Preparation for the filing of lawsuits is already underway, and some have been filed. For example, the Department of Health here in Ohio constitutionally can't change the date of an election, and this woman did that. Only the legislature can do that. You might have noticed that in Wisconsin, this was tried. The Department of Health tried to change the election date, and an appeals court said, no, you can get the legislature in here and they can change it, but there is no single person in government who can take these kinds of actions. People have been told in some states that they can't walk together in the park even if they're members of the same household. And others have been told they can't go to their other residences, like if they have two residences in the state, and some lawsuits have been filed about these kinds of things too. So the bottom, and I could go on and on, I think the lawsuits about this are going to go on forever. And I think that they're going to turn into very lucrative business for trial lawyers, because a lot of people have been unjustifiably hurt. In other words, we have basically here in Ohio, our governor turned over control of 11.6 million people to a single person who did not understand her constitutional limitations. And I think we have to make sure that that never happens again, because having anybody, whether you like them or not, even if I thought she was the greatest person in the world and was doing a good job, which I clearly don't, I wouldn't want her to have that kind of control. I don't think we want anybody to have that kind of control in this country. So we really have a lot of work to do, and soon it'll be time to start getting organized to do that, to make sure that our rights aren't violated in this way again, and that nobody has the power to do what some of these health directors and individual people have done. So the bottom line is, looking at Berenson's data and all of this, bad data led to bad decisions, which led to more bad decisions. You know, here in Ohio, we have 750,000 unemployed restaurant workers. Millions of people are out of work. Suicides and overdoses are up. Kids aren't in school. And all for an epidemic that was never going to happen, according to the data. In fact, I don't know if you're aware of this, but the World Health Organization declared this a pandemic when there were fewer than 24 cases outside of China. They must have either had incredible foresight to know what was coming, and it never came. I mean, I'm looking at who the heck did that, and why do they still have a job? None of these people should be employed starting tomorrow, if I had my way. I think we've got to get people in here into these positions who have credibility and common sense and the ability to deal with this in a much more productive way before more bad things happen. So anyway, that's all for today. As usual, pass this on to anybody who you think, I can't say would enjoy watching it, because I can't imagine anybody actually getting any pleasure from any of this stuff. I'm sure not getting it, but but who you think ought to know about this, because my goal is for people to be informed, with a capital MED at the end, consumers, so that they are not taken advantage of by the healthcare system or our government. Thank you for watching.